Picture this. You are the parent who shows up. Every birthday celebrated, every school event attended. The house is full. The fridge is full. Your child has everything a child could want. And you did that. You sacrificed for it. And there is nothing wrong with that. But years from now, that same child, now grown, sits across from a therapist and says something that will not make sense to you. I have everything. I don't know why I feel so empty. And if you heard that, your first instinct would be confusion, maybe even hurt, because you gave them everything. How could everything feel like nothing? Here is what I need you to understand today. A child's brain does not develop based on what it receives. It develops based on what it experiences. And there is a difference between a home that is full of things and a home that is full of presence. When material abundance becomes the primary language of love, the child's emotional world can go quiet without anyone noticing. Not because the parent failed, but because the culture told them that providing was the same as connecting. And it is not. Today, we are going to talk about 3 patterns that good, loving, generous parents fall into that slowly teach their children to perform well-being instead of experiencing it. And by the end, you will see exactly what to do differently. Your child comes home from school upset. Maybe they had a fight with a friend. Maybe they failed a test. They just feel bad. And you, because you love them and because you want to fix it, you do what feels natural. You take them out for ice cream. You order them something online. You say, let's go do something fun to take your mind off it. And it works. They cheer up. They move on. But here is what their nervous system just recorded. When I brought my pain to someone I love, the response was a thing, not a presence. The message was not, tell me more. The message was, let me replace this feeling with something. One instance of that means nothing, but hundreds of instances across years teaches a child something very specific. Feelings are problems to be managed, not experiences to be shared. Researchers at the Harvard Center on the Developing Child have shown that what builds healthy brain architecture in children is not what they are given, but how they are responded to. They call it serve and return. When your child reaches out emotionally and you meet that reach with warmth and presence, neural pathways for emotional regulation and connection are strengthened. But when the return is a distraction or a purchase, the emotional circuit does not complete. Psychologist Tim Kasser's research has consistently shown that the more people orient their lives around materialistic values, the less happy and more anxious they become. This pattern does not start in adulthood. It starts when the child learns that comfort comes from things and not from people. These children become adults who shop when they are sad, who have overflowing lives that feel strangely hollow. Not because they are ungrateful, but because no one ever taught them to sit inside a feeling long enough to understand it. What to do instead is disarmingly simple. When your child is upset, before you offer a solution or a distraction, just sit down, make eye contact, and say, "You seem really upset right now. Tell me about it." You do not need to fix anything. Your presence is the return their nervous system has been waiting for. Your child's week is full. Gymnastics Monday, piano Tuesday, math tutoring Wednesday, soccer Thursday and Saturday. You drive them everywhere. You are exhausted from the logistics of giving them every opportunity, and you do it because you love them and want them to have every advantage. But here's what is quietly disappearing from your child's life. Unstructured time. Time with nothing scheduled and nowhere to be. Time where they might feel bored and come to you with whatever emerges. Psychologist Sunia Luther at Columbia University spent over a decade studying affluent suburban youth and found something that stunned the research community. These children, who had every advantage, showed higher rates of depression, anxiety, and substance abuse than inner-city peers living in poverty. Higher. Not comparable, higher. And the 2 primary risk factors she identified were achievement pressure and isolation from parents, not physical absence. Emotional isolation. Research by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan has identified 3 fundamental psychological needs every human requires for well-being: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When every moment of a child's life is externally structured, autonomy shrinks. When there is no unstructured time together, relatedness suffers. These children grow into adults who cannot be still, who fill every silence with productivity, who feel anxious the moment their calendar is empty because stillness was never taught as safe. What to do instead? Build white space into your child's week. Not enrichment, not screen time, just presence. One evening with nothing planned. Let them get bored. Let them bring you whatever they are feeling. That shared quiet is not wasted time. It is the most productive thing you will do all week. You work hard. You handle stress privately. You solve problems without drama. Your child watches all of it. They watch you never ask for help. They watch you project confidence even when you are struggling. And you believe this is what a good parent does. Shield them. Model strength. But here's what your child is actually learning. Strong people do not need anyone. Capable people handle everything alone. Vulnerability is something I never saw in the person I admire most. So it must not be safe. Clinical psychologist Madeline Levine spent over 25 years treating teenagers from affluent, loving families and observed something that disturbed her deeply. Many of these teens, who appeared confident and socially skilled, lacked what she called the basic foundation of psychological development, an authentic sense of self. They could perform well-being brilliantly, but underneath, many suffered from depression, anxiety, and a profound feeling of emptiness. When parents model constant self-sufficiency and emotional control, children develop a performed version of who they think they should be, rather than who they actually are. These children become adults with impressive resumes and hollow relationships, who feel that their worth is conditional, who sit in rooms full of people and feel completely alone. What to do instead does not require you to burden your child with adult problems. It requires only this: let them see you be human. I had a hard day, and I am going to call a friend, because talking always helps me feel better. Your child just watched you reach for connection during difficulty. That is the most powerful lesson you can give them. Not that strong people never struggle, but that strong people know how to reach. So, what does all of this mean for you? The emptiness your child might one day feel is not about what you failed to give them. It is about what got buried underneath everything you did give them. When your child is upset, be the comfort before you are the solution. Build unstructured time where you are simply present, and let your child see your humanity. You do not need to be a perfect parent. You need to be a present one. Your child does not need a fuller life. They need a life where someone is paying attention to what is actually happening inside them. Remember that child who grew up and said, "I feel empty"? They were not missing things. They were missing the experience of being truly known, of being felt, of being enough without performing anything at all. And that does not cost a thing. It only costs your presence. If this gave you something to think about, one habit to gently shift, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. Share it with a parent who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me which of these 3 patterns you recognized in yourself, because we have all been there. Until next time, be patient with yourself. Be present with your children. And remember, the most important thing you will ever give them is not something they can hold. It is something they can feel.